So the Sony A7 Mark III, what an absolutely legendary camera, at the time an amazing package, but would I recommend the Sony A7 Mark III in 2022? To be completely honest, probably not. The Sony A7 III, yes, I know this is not an actual camera, this is just the box. I don't have a big ass budget, so just pretend this is the Sony A7 III. The A7 III really was a game changer for Sony. Tons and tons of people who are basically new to cameras bought the A7 series or A7 III in particular because it was actually a great camera. But is it still a great camera today in 2022/2023? It's a little bit complicated, but I'm going to talk about my personal experience with the A7 III. I'm going to go over the pros and cons, what I like, what I dislike, and who this camera really is for, and give my personal opinion on whether or not you should buy this camera based on your needs. So let's first talk about the pros and cons of the Sony A7 III. I have tons and tons of experience with it and lots of thoughts and opinions. I've been using it basically all the time, every week, every few days for 3 years. So let's talk about the first pro, which is the price at the moment. Obviously, with the release of the A7 IV, price of the A7 III has dropped. Tons and tons of people are selling off their Sony A7 III to get to the A7 IV. And because the A7 III was such a great selling camera, that means that there is so many on the market. It is actually ridiculous. You can get some great deals with people selling the body with the lenses, all kinds of crazy deals, and the price is just going to get cheaper and cheaper. I've seen some examples as low as $1,000, but it really depends on your area and kind of the supply of A7 IIIs around you. So let's talk about the second pro, which is basically that this is a professional level camera. So you're getting a lot of things like a 24 megapixel sensor, obviously Sony's autofocus system. It is the older version compared to the newer cameras, but it is still very, very good. You have great low light performance. It's absolutely insane. You have Sony's E-mount system, which is great. Also, it's a mirrorless camera. You have 4K 30p and 1080p up to 120 FPS. It's full frame, so many different positives. The third pro is that it is actually a great photography camera and a great 1080p video shooter. When it comes to photos and videos, I basically use my A7 III as a one-man crew. I've shot small commercials for local businesses, whether it be food, automotive, social media content, all kinds of crazy stuff I've shot with the A7 III. I've never had any problems with the A7 III, especially in 3 years of basically abusing the crap out of the camera. I had used it in pouring rain, and the A7 III really never let me down. But that was in the past, so let's talk about the present. And I have to say, this leads me to my first downside or con, which is the kind of outdated video functions. Obviously, you only have 4K 30p, 1080p, 120 FPS is not bad at all. Obviously, for a lot of people, I don't think their computers would be even able to handle 4K, to be honest, you know, if you're just an average Joe. But it would have been super nice to at least have 10-bit colors for 1080p. Obviously, you don't have any slow motion in 4K, which sucks. So if you're someone who wants to shoot 4K, get really high quality slow motion footage, I'm sorry to say that you should really honestly just forget about the A7 III. However, if you're someone who just wants to play around with video work every now and then I have to say that the A7 III is perfectly fine. If you only want to shoot in 1080p, it's a great camera, really it is. Not to say that it is a bad camera and not worth it, it's just that if you're someone who really wants to do some professional video work, I feel like it's more economical for you to save up a little bit more money and go to the next kind of tier level, so that way you don't buy the A7 III, use it for a year and a half or a year even, and then feel like you've already outgrown the camera. So now you have to sell it again. Maybe if you're changing brands, then you have to change all your lenses and whatnot. You get the point, right? However, let's talk about my second con, which is the autofocus system. The autofocus is great when it comes to photo, but when it comes to video, it does lack a little bit. You don't have the tracking focus, and with third-party lenses, the autofocus does struggle a lot in low light, specifically video. But I have had focus issues with third-party lenses such as Samyang, Tamron, and Sigma lenses in low light conditions when I'm shooting photos. In videos, it's obviously a little bit worse because third-party lenses, for whatever reason, don't work so well with the old Sony autofocus system. But in my personal experience, it was quite consistently an issue for me. So if you're shooting a lot of low light and you have a lot of third-party lenses, it's definitely something that I would keep in mind. And the third con, obviously, is the lack of a flippy screen, which I absolutely love. At first, I really didn't think it was a big deal to have a flippy screen, but now as someone who films himself on a regular basis, obviously for YouTube and stuff like that, I have to say that the flippy screen is absolutely a lifesaver on the new cameras. It also really sucks if you like to shoot a lot of portraits and you have to get really down low, or or you have to hold the camera above your head, then it really does suck because the tilt screen is absolutely useless. And that's basically it for the cons. I really can't say anything else bad about the Sony A7 III. Obviously, there's a lot of features it is lacking, but for the price point, you really can't complain. So who is this camera really for? In my opinion, I think the A7 III is a great kind of entry professional level camera. Maybe if you have an APS-C camera and you're looking to go to full frame, or you have an old DSLR and now you're looking to get to mirrorless or full frame, or just want something newer, you're looking for an upgrade, then the A7 III in terms of photography will last you for a long time. Photo technology hasn't advanced too much. Mainly what we're seeing now on newer camera bodies is more video functions and better autofocus systems. So the A7 III can definitely keep up with modern day cameras when it comes to photos. I can't really recommend the A7 III if you're someone who wants to get into professional video work and wants to take themselves seriously. Not that you can't do it, of course I did it, but I think that you would be better off saving money and going for a different body or a different brand just in general, and consider going to the next tier and getting something that has at least 4K 60 and 10-bit color. That way you will be basically set for the next 4 or 5 years and you don't really have to stress out and feel like you're going to outgrow your camera quick. If you're someone who does both, then I would say it really depends on what the split is. For example, when I was using the A7 III, I was more so doing 70% photo work and 30% video work. My services were more based around about shooting photos, and videos were kind of a bonus. Some people it's the other way around. You do video work mainly and the photos is a bonus. So like I said, it really depends on what you're doing as a person. And if you're doing like a 50-50 split, then I would say, you know, it might be worth it to you. It really depends. If you're trying to be in front of the camera a lot of the times, making YouTube videos and whatnot, then I don't know if I would recommend the A7 III. Obviously there are apps and things that you can use your phone as a monitor, but I found they're very finicky and that it's a pain in the ass to use because the A7 III is a older camera and a lot of the software and apps don't really work that well with the old firmware. But I have to say I have tons and tons of fond memories with the A7 III. Definitely an amazing camera. So really take some time to think about what you're going to use the camera for and make your decision based off of that. If you found this video helpful at all, I definitely appreciate a like and subscribe. Hopefully I've managed to convince you to buy the A7 III or not to buy the A7 III based on what you're going to do with it. And always remember, if you're buying stuff used, do your due diligence and make sure that the camera is working fine. There's no major issues with it. The sensor's okay and all these little things, all the buttons work and whatnot. And if you're going to buy one, happy shopping. I'll see you guys around.